Hey folks, this is Mary. Welcome back to my channel. So we are up to day 7 of 30 ink 30 days, and I'm doing all Noodler's inks this April. So today's ink, I went with something really bright because our ink from yesterday was this beautiful dark blue, but I wanted to, brighten things up a bit. So this is Noodler's Cactus Fruit Eel, and it is a super bright pink ink, very pretty. So I have already swatched the ink on the page. I'm letting it dry a little bit, but a couple of you have mentioned my poor little K-less ink. So I thought while we were waiting for the Cactus Fruit Eel to dry, I might try to make this into a K. Now somebody suggested just putting the K on the N, and of course the ink is wet, so I'm trying not to get my hand in that. So let's see. I'm not the world's greatest K maker. How's that look? It is the suggestion of a K, but now we know it says inks and not INS, which is that still what they call immigration? I don't remember. They keep changing the name. Oh dear, I just dropped my wet Q-tip on my tabletop, but that's okay. It is a dark black laminate that does not show ink, thank goodness. So I think our ink is just about dry now, so I'm going to write the name in. Cactus Fruit Eel. Oh, and I also have to share with you, I have just ordered a new part for my camera, for my my rig that holds my camera. This is my sad other piece that I was holding together with rubber bands. I wasn't kidding when I said it was held together with rubber bands. So now I have a new piece that does not require rubber bands, and it seems to be holding things securely, but I do still seem to have quite a bit of shake going on. So hopefully we can figure out how to fix that. But at least the camera, at least my phone is not in danger of falling out of the rig if the rubber bands happen to fail, which has happened to me before. So we're making progress. All right, so I think that is pretty much dry. So we are going to be brave and turn the page. All right, so I have my trusty TWSBI Go inked up with our ink of the day. And I know I don't have to be perfect filling in these squares, but I do want to get a good fill so we can see what the ink looks like. All right, this is Cactus Fruit Eel. And again, this is my TWSBI Go with broad nib. All right, so if you've been watching my videos, you might notice that we have some little hash marks next to the inks, and I've also added in the date. So let me add today's date. Today is 4/7, just so I can keep track of which ink was when. So my plan is to do a catch-up video for my water test, and I'm gonna let all these guys dry because I just put these hash marks on here. So everybody's drying, and I'm gonna go ahead and finish with Cactus Fruit Eel and get this video posted because I seem to be having a tiny little bit of internet connection at the moment. So I want to go ahead and get that video posted if possible. And then I'm going to go back and do the water resistance test on all of these and then post that as a separate video. And then hopefully starting with tomorrow's ink, we will just do the water resistance test as part of the whole video. Make sense? Okay. So, oh my goodness, I forgot to do the swab. Good heavens, see, I'm just all over the place. My goodness. You lose your internet connection and you lose your mind. Now, I don't know if you saw what I did there, but I did not make a straight line between the dots because the dots confuse me. This is why I'm not a fan of the dot grid paper, because, you know, you can make lines between the dots going this way or whichever way. So I much prefer graph paper because I can just follow that line straight across, no question. But my swab was kind of going this way and then, oop, I brought it back at the end. So yeah, usually when I'm drawing out lines in my bullet journal, this is what they look like. They're kind of starting out straight and then they go down and then, oop, they finish up good in the end. Okay, so do we want this to dry a little bit? Probably. Ooh, I haven't checked the back of our paper to see how our paper is holding up. But this is a very wet swab. All right. Ooh, maybe I should redip a little bit. Or maybe I shouldn't. I don't know. Pass number 3. Okay. Let me cap that bottle of Pink Danger over here. All right, so we are going to set this guy aside to dry. And let's see. Here is my Midori MD notebook. And here is today's ink on the Midori MD paper. And I see a little bit of shading. Again, the ink is very pigmented, very bright, so the shading is not showing up very well because there's not much contrast between the wet areas and the lighter areas. I mean, here's habanero, and we could see the crazy shading on that. Actually, I hope you can see the shading on that. Trust me, there's a lot of shading on the habanero. And the Cactus Fruitio has some. I mean, the C is quite a bit lighter, and then the A is much darker. But still, it's such a pretty ink. It's just a bright, cheerful color. I love it. Right, and here is my Hobonichi notebook with the Tomoe River paper, the 52 GSM paper. And here is our ink on here. And again, it does have a little shading. It's showing up a little bit better on this paper because this paper is so good at showing the pen characteristics. I mean, the ink characteristics. But not quite as heavy a shader as some of our other inks have been. But still very pretty. All right. So there is our swatch card. Again, one of my old style cards. You know, I've got the bottle and everything right here. Why don't I just go ahead and make a new swatch card with my drip? I love my drip. Well, the ink is just running right down the Q-tip. It is so saturated. Oh, I better write the name first. And we'll give it a swatch. Whew. It is so bright. I would call this fuchsia. I mean, it is just Bright, bright, bright. Oh, and I just dripped on my paper. Oh, I dripped on my shirt too. Oh dear. And I bent my Q-tip. Oh, everything's falling apart. Well, I don't know what to do about my shirt. Oh, good. I think it's just water. I dabbed at my shirt with a paper towel, and it just seems to be wet. So that makes me feel much better. I guess we should all be wearing aprons while we're doing this, right? Let's see. I'm going to see if I can get that ink to move around a little bit. Oh, you know what? It's all wet now. So that won't be as good for comparisons. Okay, we'll start with this guy, because he's already long since dry. And let me dab up my little puddle of ink here, which you can't even see on the camera, which is okay. You don't need to see my little puddle of ink. Okay, there it is. See? He's little and teeny and cute. So we'll just put him right back out of the frame. All right, so I was thinking about this ink and what I was going to compare with it, and I was thinking that I didn't have a lot of pink inks, which I really don't, but I managed to find quite a few to compare with it. So probably the first one that comes to everybody's mind is Yamabudo. And this ink is so gorgeous. It has that beautiful green sheen on it. It's just that lovely dark magenta. I think this ink is called purple, but to me, I wouldn't call it purple. I would call it pink or magenta or fuchsia. Very much like Cactus Fruit Eel, it's just darker. Cactus Fruit Eel is super bright, and Yamabudo is more, I don't want to say subdued, because it's not a subdued ink, it's just a darker ink. And here is Rohrer and Klingner Sulfurino. Again, that bright fuchsia with green sheen, a bit lighter than Yamabudo, and not quite as bright as Cactus Fruit Eel. Here is Califolio Andronopal. Again, that bright magenta fuchsia color with some green sheen. So, let's see. It's pretty close to Sulfurino, but Sulfurino is looking a bit more purple than Andronopal. Andronopal's looking more pink, but it's quite a bit lighter than Cactus Fruit Eel. It's less saturated than Cactus Fruit Eel. And I also don't see any sheen on Cactus Fruit Eel. Now here is Lamy Vibrant Pink. And again, this was my old style of swatch card, and it's trying to sheen right here, but I think if it had a drip on it like my current cards, then the sheen would show up much better. So I think it has kind of a gold sheen on there, if I'm not mistaken. But it's looking much pinker than these guys. These are all looking, you know, magenta fuchsia, and Vibrant Pink is looking pretty pink. Here is Diamine Deep Magenta. Again, very close. I would say lighter than Yamabudo. Pretty close to Cactus Fruit Eel. It does have a teeny bit of green sheen. And Andronopal is looking pinker compared to these guys. These are that more of that magenta color. Here is Noodler's Saguaro Wine, which is very close to Cactus Fruit Eel. I think it's just darker, perhaps even more intense, if that's even possible. I mean, these inks will, you know, they would glow in the dark. They are just so bright. I mean, these guys are so bright. Yamabudo is a little bit calmer, not neon. These guys are, you know, dancing around neon. They're so bright. Let's see. And I have a few others that are not quite good matches. Here is Diamine Iridescent Robert. And it's that kind of magenta fuchsia color, but crazy, crazy green sheen. And it has so much sheen on the ink that it's making it look darker. But if you see around the edges here, it's that bright fuchsia color. So very much like these guys, or I should say very much like these guys, that bright fuchsia magenta with that green sheen. But let me see. So Saguaro Wine is very close. And I also think that the Diamine Deep Magenta, I think Saguaro Wine is a bit, it's like a bit deeper, a bit more saturated. So Deep Magenta is pretty close to Saguaro Wine. Teeny bit of sheen on this one, not much. No sheen on this one. But very interesting. And I just always think about Mary over at the Norfolk Stationery. I've mentioned this story before, but she said she took notes one time using Saguaro Wine, and it was so beautiful to write with, and she loved it. But then when she went back trying to read her notes, they were very difficult to read because the ink is just so bright. But it's beautiful. These are all beautiful inks. So I wouldn't say that I'm a pink person, but I do really enjoy this one and all the other ones that look like it. Okay, so I'm going to bring back our new swatch card and see if they look any different. Now he's actually still drying, but I just wonder if we'll see any other properties in the drip area. But you can tell what a wet ink it is because that drip has just spread out so far. But I don't know. The cards are pretty similar, just a different style. But I like the drip better. Alrighty, well that is all for this video on Cactus Fruit Eel. So I will get this video up. Cross your fingers that my internet connection is holding on. And I'll be working on that water resistance video too, and get that one up soon as well. So I hope you enjoyed all of this, and I hope to see you tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.